Hello, hello, my beautiful people. See LDF over there? You see him? He's excited. He already gave you the peace sign. We're like 2 seconds in. I'm joined here with my $65 Gumi that I ordered from the Pokemon Center. Clearly, it's not hard to get my money, so shout out to the Pokemon Center. Temporal forces will be robbing me of more of my money. I can confirm. And you know what? I'm excited. I've never been more excited to give up my money because I'm sick of this format. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
I mean, I don't know if I'm sick of it yet. I actually enjoy this format still.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I had some fun on the
It's
weekend.
getting repetitive.
Yeah. I like
That's
playing
the thing.
Gardevoir.
It's a good format. I'm just itching
Yeah.
for change, bro.
That's fair. That's fair. I also don't play
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
much this format. That was like like on the weekend I played my first cup in like a month. So I guess I have breaks. So
You won it though,
yeah,
right?
I won.
one.
I'm
One
one
for one,
one,
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of, yeah, I'm over it. But yo, today we have LDF with us, bro. Anytime we can get LDF on the podcast is a good damn day. Recording
Yeah.
live from his studio in Oshawa, in not the dirty schwa, the clean schwa.
The clean
Good old
shot. Yeah.
Clean schwa. He pays like $100 in Ubers to get back from like any League Cup to get back there. So,
Pretty
shout out
much.
to Oshawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Oshawa.
Shout out Oshawa.
Today we have a very, very interesting topic that may or may not get us flamed. We're still waiting to see the outcome of that. But it's actually like really good timing because Tor just did a madness with a mad deck, first of all, that Ciaran and I actually disagree on. So we'll have that conversation at some point. But we're going to be ranking the top 10 Pokemon players of all time. And this goes through all generations since before we were playing up until this point. Obviously, it is a little tough to quantify what people's accomplishments are then versus now and now versus then. It's like the LeBron Jordan whole thing. So yeah, we're going to do our best. We've come up with our own list, kind of put them together. Ciaran, I don't know if you want to explain the rest of it there.
Yeah. Also, just before we start, I just want to shout out Aneil and I are doing a Metafy group session if you're going to Vancouver. So we're going to go through matchups. We'll go through some board states, go through deck selection, like what the Canadian metagame is like. So yeah, we'll put the link in the description. If you just want to come hang out with us, you can also put the VOD out if you can't make it and you sign up. So it'll be a fun time if you want to come hang out with the Shift Gear duo there. But moving on to the methodology. So yeah, basically each of us picked 15 players, and then I basically averaged out our ranking. So if you were ranked number 1, you got 15 points. If you were ranked 15, you got 1 point. And I added up everyone's points, and then we have a top 10 here. And Matt and Aneil actually haven't seen the ranking yet. I'm the only one who knows how it went. So there's some big discrepancies actually. So I think to start, maybe each of us can give our methodology, since I think it's a very hard thing to rank. So Matt, how did you come up with your ranking?
A lot of it for me was just consistency. How consistent is the player at doing well in tournaments? Have they got multiple accomplishments that are very broad? Have they, consistently changed the format? That's another thing that I like to look at is how much of an impact does this player have on the actual metagame? Can they change up how a deck is played? Can they innovate enough to where a deck is like completely revolutionized? And that's how I ranked most of my players.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Neil, what about yourself?
Yeah, low-key, me and Matt were on Discord when I made mine. So
Yeah.
a little bit, we're playing Minecraft, a little bit distracted, I'll say. But no, the way I ranked mine is like, obviously, so the reason why Matt's on here, not because he's just an amazing guy, which he is, but he's also been playing just as long as we have. So that was an important criteria. And through that, like kind of going through the times, Matt and I bounced some ideas off each other of like, like this guy and that guy, whatever. And the way we came up with it is like, okay, so the way at least I did it is I formulated through like huge major event wins. And then I went through maybe people who I thought were underrepresented or couldn't get it done on the world stage or whatever it might have been. And there's a lot of people who play this game. And so it's tough to rank only 10. And I think we did the best job we could at refining that. I know you had your own sort of methodology as well. Mine was mostly like, at least for the last couple of years, I just went on Limitless and kind of weighed them up like that and then used my own personal knowledge to fill in the gaps. So, if you want to take us through your methodology real quick.
Yeah, so I think I weighed Worlds the heaviest, which I think makes sense. Like, that's the premier event. Like, if you haven't performed at Worlds, like, you didn't rank very high on my list. I think the hardest thing for me was just kind of balancing, like, the old school players with the new school players. So I did notice, and we'll talk about it, like, 2 of the players in my top 10, you guys didn't even have in your top 15. So I think I might have weighed old school a little bit more than some of you guys did. But to me, if there's anyone who had like old school plus new school accomplishments, like I ranked that very highly. And like once I started getting past like maybe the top like 6-7 guys, like it got really hard to rank from there because I felt like there wasn't any like clear standouts. Like tons of people had a bunch of regional wins, tons of people have like IC wins. Some people have like world's top 8. So I think looking at the list, a lot of us we more or less agreed near the top, but we were very different once we started getting to those last spots. And this is just like an imperfect science. Like you could like argue like anyone for a lot of these spots, I think.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking of too earlier today was kind of the new school versus the old school because like in like the post-COVID era of the Pokemon TCG, we've seen like a lot of just brand new names kind of just pop up out of nowhere, and I was like, should I even put some of these players, like some of these people who theoretically could have made the list or the honorable mentions, have won multiple regionals over the past couple years since we've gotten the tournaments back. So I was thinking about that too, and I was arguing like back and forth with that, but I think I was pretty happy with my decisions overall. But there's a few players that I feel like are newer names who I think honestly could have made like the list too. But maybe we can talk about that a bit later.
Yeah, we can for sure.
And full disclaimer, like, yo, if you came here, you clicked on this video expecting to see your name and you don't see your name, I'm sorry. Okay, we're sorry. Please don't burn our houses down. This is a tough list to make, bro. And like, to be honest, I think I can speak for my own list. There wasn't a whole lot of new blood in my list, in like the sense of like people that you would recognize on a tournament to tournament basis right now. Like if you look at the top 8, there is a few names there that you will see, but some of the people that people attribute to being high ranking players right now have only been playing for a small amount of time. So it's really tough to quantify those people against the rest. So that's a little disclaimer as well. So for the new players, we're going to do our best to kind of go through and like explain what their old players' accomplishments were and why they kind of, I guess, contrasted the new players. But there are a lot of old names and new names. There's gonna be a lot of learning for everybody here, myself included.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll have, especially I think when we get to the top 2 debate, we can debate old school versus new school, how to weigh it, how we. I think it'll show off how we weighed. For me personally, like I think it's harder to win tournaments nowadays. I still think Worlds as a tournament is the same difficulty as it's always been. Especially back then, because they used to cut to top 32. So you'd have to like start doing single elimination down from top 32. So it was, in some years, top 16. So it was actually pretty difficult to go through that in a single elimination. But I think the internationals are the biggest difference between the modern era and the old era of the game. Like the internationals, basically all the top players in the world are always there. That wasn't really a thing that happened back then. Like back then, the only tournaments that would have people from around the world was Worlds. So I think that's the biggest difference. So I think I definitely weighed internationals like really heavily in my rankings. So yeah, I think,
same here.
So to get us started, I think we can go maybe some honorable mentions or maybe like some discrepancies we had. So I think the first name off the list, the guy who had 11th, was Robin Schultz. I think all of us had him pretty high. I think the highest, I think one of us had him in the top 10. I think that might have been Matt. Yeah, Matt, you had him 10th.
I did.
So yeah, I think that should just show like how hard it's going to be to make the top 10 on this list, that we have a guy who's won Worlds and he's won internationals and he's 11th. So yeah, like he's a great player. Obviously, he won the 2018 Worlds with Zorak. He has an international win. He has a regional win as well. I think at least for me, the reason I didn't rank him as high is just he doesn't have the volume that a lot of the other players have on this list. Like there's a lot of other world champions who also have success. There's a lot of people who won multiple internationals who have like tons of regional wins. So that's I think I had him like 11th or 12th on my list. So that's kind of why I didn't have him in the top 10. But maybe Matt, why did you give him the 10th spot?
Yeah, I gave him the 10th spot because he did win Worlds in 2018. He has innovated a lot, I think, within the TCG, not just like with Limitless, but just like in general, like even playing the game. I'm pretty sure his idea was he like invented the Urshifu Inteleon deck during the Brilliant Stars meta. Like I know Tord popularized it, but I'm pretty sure Robin was the one who like literally invented that archetype. And that was obviously a very big archetype. Yeah, he's won many regionals. I wanted to make sure there was at least a couple World Championship Worlds winners in the top 10. And I think Robin Schultz is a great pick for that. I think like all the world champions are like obviously really good players and easily could have made like the honorable mentions like / top 20. But I definitely wanted to get Robin Schultz on there as one of the standout world champs for me.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Cool. Another guy we had just off the list here. We had Pedro Torres just off the list. I think we had him 13th. I think this is another guy, fantastic European player, international champion, tons of regional success. I think is what really puts him about 2 regionals. He has a top 4 at Worlds, 2 top 32s, He has 3 top 4s at international. So at least for me, I'm like seeing that consistent success at the international level for me is why I ranked him high. He was just outside of my top 10 as well. Aneil, is that maybe why you had him on your list as well?
Yeah, you can kind of recognize when players are really strong, really good consistently for a long time, and I think he's one of those guys who kind of checks that box for me. Obviously, like international wins pretty flashy, but like some of these players are world's winners, stuff like that. So that's the only reason why he didn't really break into my top 10. But like hats off, man. It's tough to be consistent for that long and be that good at it. So hey, man, anybody on this list I have mad respect for. So
yeah,
that's
100%. Okay, so one guy, he's 12th. And none of you guys had him on your list, but I actually had him 7th on my list. I had Sammy Sakoum on my list. So, Matt, do you know who Sammy Sakoum is?
Vaguely remember that name, yes.
Aneil, what about you?
Also vaguely remember that name.
Okay, so fun fact, he has the most top 8s in Worlds history. He has
Really?
Yeah, he has 5. So to me, like that's
wow.
I couldn't keep him off my list with that. And just from talking to players from that era, like everyone held him in such high regard. Like I remember when they used to the Top Gun Invitational, I was consulting like Curtis Lyon when I was making my list, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy pure skill." He has 4 UK national titles. I don't know how heavy to weigh that. I don't know how many regionals he's won. I'm sure he's won some, but to me, just having the record for most top cuts at Worlds is something to get on the list. And anyone who's played this game, like even the top players, like a lot of really top names when I was looking, like haven't even like top 32 to Worlds. So like even making one top 8 at Worlds is like such an accomplishment. To do it 5 times is just crazy impressive to me.
That is really, really impressive. Yeah. I didn't know that he made top 8 that much.
Yeah.
Did he used to write articles for Six Prizes?
He might have, to be honest, probably.
I feel like that's where I recognize his name.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Actually, I played him at EUIC last year. He told me he was just playing one tournament for fun. He's from London, I think. So.
Damn.
And I think he got top 32 or 64 last year. So he might still got it in him. So.
Some people are just him, bro.
They're just him, right?
Has he ever made finals at Worlds?
Yeah.
Or is it like just like top 8s?
He has 1 second, and then he has 4 top 8s.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think he got second 2009 with Flygon. And he lost to Beedrill, I think, or he might have. Yeah.
Oh, he lost to Stephen Silvestro then,
think
right?
so,
Because
yeah.
I remember he won Worlds in 2009 with that, I think.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So very impressive. Okay, and then the other guy here, we have him at 14th. Both of you also didn't have him on your list, and I had him in my top 10. I think you guys picked a different Japanese player that you both put in your top 10, but I had Sugiyoshi Yamato in my top 10. I just think he's like a pioneer.
It's a good one, actually.
What do you think of Pokemon? So for those unfamiliar with him, he's the first ever world champion back in 2004 with the Team Magma deck, which was a really big surprise back then. It won all age divisions. The Japanese had a secret deck. And he also has a top 4 and a top 8 at Worlds in addition to that. So 3 top 8s at Worlds. To me, just being a world champion, pioneering like that in the game, and just like a fun story is like back when at 2013 Worlds, he used to sit in like the open gaming room, and there was like a 3-hour line to play a game against him. Like he was just that revered in the community. He's probably
I actually remember that.
Yeah, he's one of the most respected Japanese players of all time. I lined up to play a game with him back then. He was one of my heroes when I was like a little kid back then. So to me, I just thought he deserved a spot on the list. And I think this is something we can discuss too, is I had a really hard time ranking the Japanese players because I have no idea what their accomplishments are besides Worlds. So
yeah, we don't see them any other time, right? So it's tough.
Yeah,
it is. I'm pretty sure Yamato. I'm pretty sure they did. They had him as like a final boss for one of the Players Cup things. Was it in the Invitational or something?
Oh, I didn't watch. That's actually really cool if they did. So.
I'm pretty. I like remember that. I forget if it was like the Players Cup Invitational because they invited all like the Players Cup winners to like do a big tournament together. And I'm pretty sure he was like the final boss or something. Like the winner of the Invitational had to battle him. It was something like that. Or I could be wrong, but I do remember they used him for like a final boss for something because they like hyped up this like mysterious player is going to be like the final boss, and then it was revealed to be Yamato. So
that's really
that might
cool.
have been.
They should have made him like cosplay as Giovanni or something. It would have been more fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or better yet, Maxi.
Yo,
he piloted the Magma deck.
Lysander,
Why
Maxi?
not?
Yeah. He played. That was Magma's Groudon, right? The deck that he won with?
Yeah, Team Magma. It was that camera up. I think Zangoose was in the deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the most like popular retro decks I've seen.
Yeah, it's
in,
like
the
iconic.
Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty cheap to build too.
Yeah, it is for sure.
It's just like a few Pokemon. That's it.
Yeah, and I think Groudon's in the Celebration set too. So that again shows you how historic that deck was for the game that it got printed in Celebration. So. Yeah.
Yep.
Just to round out some more honorable mentions here, tied for 15th, we had Henry Brand and Ian Robb. So, Aneil, you ranked Henry the highest, so maybe why'd you put Henry there?
World champion in modern era is my answer to that. Regional champion as well. He's done a lot, like in terms of cool decks going far. Like, he's done quite a bit. I really like that Mewtwo Mew deck. I think it was in a field that was, I don't want to say tough on it, but it was definitely not it definitely had a target on its back during that Worlds, and so like that one kind of stood out to me. And yeah, he won a regionals as lately as last year.
Yeah,
so
in America too. So coming
that
in
is
true. We always love the international winners in America. And
modern day.
Yeah, he has an international top 8 as well, which is good. Okay, and the other guy tied with him was Ian Robb. I think Matt, you might have had him the highest ranked. Yeah, you did. So Matt, why do you put Ian on your list the highest out of all of us?
Yeah, I had him as an honorable mention, but Ian is a very consistent player. He's won 2 regionals post-COVID. He's like always just consistently doing like really good in tournaments. Like I think recently he did like almost, I think he got top 8 in San Antonio. He like consistently just gets like top 32, top 16, top 8s, and obviously he got second at NEIC last year. So he's like basically like he's on the verge of like a big international win, I think, and potentially even like a top 8 at Worlds. Like I can see that happening within the next like year or two for him.
I think for me, like when I sat down and started the list, I actually had him on my list originally, and then because his resume is insane, especially at the regional level. He has 5 regional wins, and he's very young. Like I think he's like 23 or something, right? So that's insane at his age to have that many wins. And he won some of them pre-COVID when he was like a brand new master. He has 4 top 4s, 3 more top 8s, a second international, a top 8 international. But the reason I couldn't rank him higher is he doesn't even have a top 32 at the World Championships yet. So he's obviously capable of performing at Worlds, but I think just once he gets like a nice Worlds finish, I think that's enough for me to just like jump him up the rankings. But
this is jokes, bro. We're like talking about these guys like they're like young prospects. Like we're at the NFL Combine right now. Like, I'm gonna take this guy first overall to the Jaguars. Holy, bro. It's jokes. Like we got to talk about maybe next time when we do, we're gonna do like potential. We got to rank it like it's like FIFA career mode. So top potential, what's this person's ceiling? Are they going to be a flawed superstar? Like what's going on? We really got to get into the metrics next time. And like when we sound like Stephen A and what's his face, Max Kellerman before they broke up a lot of weeks when we're just arguing back and forth.
Yeah.
But I just want to like preface this. I'm really excited for the 1v2 debate. Like I'm already like
I think that's gonna be a great one at the end.
Let's tear through this list.
Yeah, it's funny too because like we're like nitpicking on stuff. It's like all 3 of us here would like love to have anyone's resume that we talk about. So we're just nitpicking greatness at this point. So
we're literally Stephen A, bro. Like, legit.
And then before we get in the top 10, just I wanted to give a shout out. I had this person 15th on my list. You guys didn't have him on here. I put Puka at 15th. Just an OG. Actually, when I started making this list, I thought he might have an argument, and then it's just like he's another one of those guys who he just doesn't have the world's success. I think he has like 1 top 32 in his career, and he's won like U.S. nationals and gotten second twice. Like you can kind of compare that to an IC, but yeah, his resume is just not as stacked as the rest of these guys. So his argument would mainly just be he pioneered the streaming and like video in Pokemon, but everyone loves him.
That's
so
not the same as being a player.
Exactly.
I mean, Puka
6'3" is a good prospect.
True. Puka's one of the reasons I like do YouTube. Yeah, so like he's an inspiration for me. But yeah, he obviously hasn't played in a very long time because he works for Pokemon. He's not allowed to. So I think if maybe he was like if he actually was allowed to play in tournaments and had finishes, you could probably argue for put him in the top 10. But yeah, you probably would have to put him outside the top 10 now. Yeah. Maybe back before like the modern era, you would put him in the top 10. But now, yeah, I think it's like it's fallen a bit.
Yeah.
And due to mine and Ciaran's stupidity, at our first Worlds, we got him to sign our Team Spark OG customized mats. Yeah. Nice. Those things could have been worth millions by now, okay? And we got him to sign it, and I don't know now. I don't know what we do. The original thing is tarnished. Like, do I just burn it? What do we do? The original, like, Fifth Gear podcast mat from, 11 years ago is signed by a legend of the game, but no longer has its value. Yeah. So
I mean, hey, we have
our own issues.
We have some good. I have like who else do I have? I had Jason on there. I had Pram on that one. I had Jay Witz. Jay Witz is on that mat.
Jay Witz.
Oh, Jay. Yo, I've worked with Jay Witz before, bro. He's a G.
Yeah, Jay Witz is a G.
Still around?
He does YouTube, but like I don't think he does just Pokemon. He does like Nintendo YouTube in general. So.
Yeah, I helped him, or he like got me to like help him with like a charity stream or whatever. So that was kind of cool that he reached out to me and like let me do that. Yeah. It's pretty sick.
Sweet.
It was kind of crazy because I watched Jay Witch growing up. Same with Puka.
Yeah. Those guys are him, Dan TDM, but Dan like level 45, and Puka, the top cut, the OGs. Yeah.
We're dating out so many people right now.
We are. Yeah. So let's move on then to the top 10 so we can spend more time on each guy now when we get here. So we actually had a tie for 10th place. Oh, and I just want to mention too, actually there's a huge drop off in points after 10th. Like we were all over the place for 11 to 15th, like all of us. So so tied for 10th, we had Jimmy Pendarvis and Andrew Estrada. So there might be a little bit of Canadian bias on our list, but
Just a bit.
yeah, we'll start with Estrada maybe. I think who had him the highest? Aneil, I think you had him the highest. You had him at 9th. I think Matt had him at 10th. And then I also had him at 10th. So I think it makes sense where he is on the list. So Aneil, you ranked him the highest, so I'll let you take the honors of why our boy is 10th here, or 9th, I guess.
That's my dog. That's my dog. That's about the best defense I have for this. That's my dog. He put Canada on the map.
He did.
There,
yep.
Right? Like we needed that. It was big for us, and even like coming out of COVID and stuff, he was still performing. Like few Canadian people really like kind of headline that, and I think I don't know, just consistency since we've been kids. Been good. I know he had. I know when we started playing, like from then versus now, it's like night and day how good he's got. Like his success curve has been like insane. So, and then ever since we started tasting that success, I think it was like around. I want to think like 2014, 2015 was the first time he like really popped off. He's been like lights out ever since, just getting better and better. So scary hours for everyone else.
Yeah, 100%. So he's one of the very few players who has multiple top cuts at Worlds, and he has one in Modern Era and Old Era, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
He's also a regional champion, like Canadian Nationals. He's made top cut multiple times. He's won state championships when those were a thing. He doesn't have a cut at an internet, but he honestly doesn't play them that much because he just doesn't care to play. So I'm sure he's obviously more than capable. Yeah, and also fun fact about the year he won Worlds. So that 2014, it was the hardest year to make Worlds. You needed 500 championship points. You could only go to like 2 or 3 regionals a year, the way the format was back then. And there was a thread on like this Canadian Facebook group, literally saying, "Will Andrew Estrada make Worlds?" It was a poll, and I think it was like 80% of people voted no. And I'll call myself out. I voted no, and then he won Worlds. And I remember that thread went to the top, and I was like, "That is an awesome story." And like, yeah, I think that year he won Worlds was just like so fun for all of us. There was like literally like 100 Canadians of us in the crowd, all cheering him on. It's like an epic match. The Colorista won. Some questionable end from Igor to bring the match back. He started Jirachi one of the games. So, yeah, and just from the eye test, like his skill is just like so good. Like whenever I watch him play, so definitely deserved here.
I played and winning it. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I played against Andrew in Hartford day 2, round 1 in day 2, and it was a good game. We ended up tying. I was playing Arcdura, he was playing Turbo Lost Box, but like I can tell, like he's like really good. That was the first time I think I've ever played him since before we were like back when we were kids. So it's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
And I think just another call. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's the youngest world champion ever. He won his first year in Masters. He was 16 when he won, so I feel like that has to count for something. So.
Yeah, he top 8'd Nats that year, I think, too.
Yeah, he did. He top 8'd Nats. I think got top 4 to regionals that year. Like he just had a fantastic rookie year in Masters, like as good as you can get, pretty much. Like winning Worlds, I don't think it gets better.
Maybe
than
even
that,
the best rookie year.
Yeah, probably.
To be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
Wait, did he top 4 Nats? I don't remember.
He got top 8 or top 4. Like he made cut for sure. I know that.
Yeah.
So. No.
I remember Rob Davies top 4 that one.
No, that was the year after. That was 2015.
That was 15?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm tripping.
Yeah.
And Andrew winning Worlds that year was like an undersized like NBA player making the show. Like it was just unreal.
He was the 8th seed too.
Isaiah Thomas make the show. What's that?
He was 8th seed. He bubbled into cut. The only person with his, I think he was like 6'1" or something. So just a real Cinderella run. So a little bias from the Canadian show, but I think it's a well-deserved spot on the top 10. All right. So then
can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
Sick. Yeah, I wanted to put a Canadian in my top 10, so I was like, Andrew Estrada, I think is probably the go to the Canadians.
Yeah,
like,
there's no debate.
There's other Canadians that you could classify. Like I know Aneil had one of his honorable mentions that me and Ciaran were like, that's interesting. So maybe we'll talk about that later. But I definitely wanted to have a Canadian on here. Everyone talks about how Canada is the hardest region to like play in like cups and challenges, and I kind of had to include someone in that. And I think Andrew is like the actual like perfect pick because he's won Worlds. Top 4 Worlds, won a regionals, literally just was like, I'm retiring, goes to the first tournament of the season and wins it anyways.
Yeah.
And gets his invite, like GOAT status right there.
Yeah, I don't think any player's retired more times than Andrew Estrada. I think it's a little Brett Favre situation, come in and out.
Yeah. Tom Brady arc right now.
All right, nice. Moving on to the other guy tied with him, we had Jimmy Pendarvis. So I think,
in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace to Jimmy. I think the reason Jimmy ranks so high is he just completely dominated the regional championships for a while. I think he might be the only player to win 3 regional championships in a row, at least in North America. For sure he is. So yeah, he has a 5 regional championships and then 6 top 8s in the modern era. He has no top 4s or seconds, so it's either boom or bust with him. And he also has a top 4 and a top 8 in internets. He has top 8, top 16, top 32 world. So it's not like he was struggling either at the world stage. So I just think his run was just like legendary back in that 2018-19 season. Him and that whole DDG team were just like shredding like Pokemon. Like they were the guys who came up with like a Oranguru, like in all their decks, like their Zoroark
bird
builds.
control deck.
Yeah, the bird, like they were just on top of the game. Like yeah, the Oranguru control deck was huge. So yeah, I just think it was just a dominated performance, and I think if he had the chance to continue building on his legacy today, like I don't see why he wouldn't even be higher on this list. So
yeah, I had him at my number 9 spot, and like same thing. Like I think he's like the standout player from the DDG crew. There is another DDG member that's obviously we're going to talk about a bit later on in this list, obviously. But if we're going to talk about somebody who represented DDG the best, because they had like an insane run in 2018 and 19, I think Jimmy Pendarvis is the perfect pick. Because yeah, he just had an insane run. I think he honestly could have been top 5 if whatever he lived and we were able to kind of see his success post COVID. But it's sad to see, but it's still the fact that he made the top 10 is awesome. Actually, fun fact, go on the Limitless page for Modern Era for points. He's still in the top 10 all these years later, which is crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's one thing we might talk about like more. Some of these guys is like when you talk about peak, like he definitely has one of the highest peaks on this list out of anybody.
Yeah.
There's only a couple guys on this list I would say had a higher peak than he did. Yeah.
I agree.
Cool. Aneil, anything to add before we go to the next guy?
No, I wasn't playing too much in that era, but I did definitely hear a lot, so nothing to add there.
Yeah. Cool. Next, we have our lone Latin America player. We have Gustavo Wada. I think he's the only person on this list to be a world champion in the junior division. He also has a top 8 in the Masters division, 2 top 16s and top 32. So obviously very good at the world championship. He's won 2 international championships. He's gone top 8 at 4 other international championships, and he's won regionals twice and his 4 top 4s, 9 top 8s. So to me, I think it's just the pure volume from Gustavo here is why he's so high on this list. And being a multi-time international winner it's very rare. There's only a few guys who have that. He has it. Azul has it. Tord has it. I think Stefan is the other person who has it. So it's a very small list. I think combine that with his regional success, he's probably the best Latin American player of all time. So for me, that's why I had him in my top 10. Aneil, what about you?
Yeah, same here. It's a sheer volume thing at that point. Like the same thing that I said with I forget what we were talking about. I think it was Pedro. Like just like the consistency to just like keep hammering him out in like different formats, different decks, like all that like kind of stands out a bit more to me than if like somebody just ran hot once and won Worlds, which obviously like winning Worlds is huge, but just that sheer volume says a lot to me. So that's why he's up there, and some other like world champions are not, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, even now, like he's seen like a lot of recent success. I think he got top 8 in Charlotte, right?
I believe so.
I think so.
Yeah, him and Vini were both in top 8. I remember because so I didn't put him in my top 10. I had him as an honorable mention. He's my highest honorable mention, so he would basically be the de facto 11th place on my ranking. But I don't know. After thinking about it, I'm like, maybe he should have been in top 10. But I don't know. He's definitely the best Latin America player by far, and I think that he definitely. I mean, maybe if he gets a couple more good finishes, you could probably just smack him right into like the middle of the top 10 ranking potentially.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think the other Latin America player I consider is Pablo. He actually has a really good resume as well. He has 2 world top 8s, one's a top 4. He has a second and a top 4 in internets, and he's won a couple of regionals. So maybe I could have given him more consideration actually now that I'm looking at his resume. But
I thought about Tablemon too. I was thinking about that too. I was like, you could probably put him like in the honorable mentions, maybe lower half of the top 10. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, so
for sure.
Yeah, actually, I probably should have put him in my top 15. Looking at his resume now. Cool. All right, moving on. This next guy, there was a big disagreement between you two and I think me. So, Matt, you had this next guy 5th on your list. And Neil, you had him 6th on your list. And I had him all the way down at 12th on my list. So we have Shintaro Ito now next on this list at 7th place. So maybe, Matt, you go first. Why is Shintaro so high on your list?
I had to put him in top 5 because I think he's the best player in Japan of all time, maybe even better than Yamato, because Shintaro he's got he almost won 2 world championships. That's like insane to me. He lost to he won Worlds with Mega Dino, and it was 2018, right?
He lost
19,
Henry, right?
19. Yeah,
19. It was 19.
it was a
right?
controversial loss as well. There was
It was
a double prize penalty.
Was that the DPL one?
Yeah, for stalling.
It was,
or
yeah.
So
He lost to Henry in the finals, right?
yeah,
Yeah, because I do remember that. He got like a DPL. He was playing Blounds and Ganadel. He got like a DPL, and I remember like everyone on Twitter at the time was like pissed at that.
yeah.
They were like,
Bro,
dude, like, because everyone wanted to see Shintaro win again. That was kind of the reason.
Well, you kind of just like, I don't know. In my opinion, is that World's Finals should not be timed. Like, obviously, like,
I mean, look what happened.
You should have to make reasonable actions in like reasonable time, but like, you shouldn't have to worry about time in World's Finals.
It's
my
literally
opinion.
like it's the final, like it's literally the final round of like the entire season. Like that is fair. That is fair, but
because you eliminate
rules are
slow
rules.
playing as soon as you get rid of the timer. As long as you enforce like a reasonable limit, get people to think about what they're doing. But there's nobody gonna be like playing the clock. Like we saw it last year too with Tord, right? Like nobody's gonna be doing that. So that's just my opinion, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. I think to play devil's advocate of why I didn't put him higher is one, I just don't know what his accomplishments are outside of Worlds.
That is fair.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well in a lot of the Champions Leagues, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I think I just put Yamato higher because he just had that one more top cut than Shintaro. And honestly, once you make top cut at Worlds, like you're kind of splitting hairs. Like it's so hard. Once you get top cut, it's almost a crapshoot. Like all the players are so good. I just think like to me, Yamato is just more iconic for me. The OG World Champion. But I think it's fair to like have Shintaro ahead as well, since he did it in the modern era. Mega Audino is also a huge rogue deck. One of the biggest rogue decks to ever win.
I was about to say, probably the second biggest rogue deck to ever debut at Worlds and do really well.
Yeah,
I would argue. There's another one that we'll talk about probably later.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he's a
I'm looking at his
fantastic
resume
player,
right now, Limitless. There's a lot of top 8s. A lot of Champions League top 8s is what I'll say.
Oh, they
that's
have,
why,
okay.
like,
okay.
Yeah, he's got a lot of those, which is why I was like, yeah, he's definitely like the best player in Japan. In my opinion, I know like Yamato's pretty iconic for, more of like the older players, but I think for like the more modern era of like, the mid 2010s, late, 20s, I think Shintaro is easily the most like recognizable like player from Japan, and yeah, most iconic. And again, almost winning 2 Worlds. I mean, there's only been one other person who's ever done that, and Shintaro almost did that, which is crazy.
Yeah,
no, pretty good.
100%. Yeah, actually, I'm looking at his Limitless now with all these Champions Leagues. He has 2 top cuts in 2019, and and like a bunch of top 16s and stuff. So, and he got 3rd at the Japan Championship a couple years ago. So, yeah, honestly, I probably underrated him a bit on my list, but definitely,
it's more or less just not knowing his accomplishments, I guess, right? But,
bro, we have no idea what they do in Japan.
Yeah, that's not. I wish.
Yeah, it's different, right?
Yeah. So I
bro,
almost...
it's literally like we look at some of these decks and we're like, what even is this? And like it goes to show our very limited knowledge about what goes on the eastern side of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I almost debated not doing Japanese players just because I didn't know them that well. Like another name I considered was Yuta Kamatsuda. He's won Worlds, top 4 and top 8, so he basically has the exact same resume as Yamato. I just didn't know what else he accomplished, and I'm like, Yamato's just more iconic, so he took my spot. Takuya Yaneda, he was a great player in the early 2010s. He has 2 top 8s at Worlds.
I remember that, yeah.
And just from talking to people, like he was, and I remember like the Japanese players were saying he was dominating their circuit back then. But again, I just didn't know enough to really put him on my list. So those were the 4 Japanese players I considered, including Shintaro, for my list.
I had another Japanese player that I thought of. That was Daichi.
Oh, that's right, Daichi. Yeah. Because I know he's been doing well in the Champions Leagues, right?
Yeah, and obviously got 2nd place at Worlds in 2022. I considered him, but I don't think he has as many accomplishments yet as Shintaro to put him in the top 10. Like, I would maybe put him, like, 20th, 18th, 19th on a list.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking here. He's won 2 Champions Leagues, and those are, like, 3,000 people tournaments or something, so that's very impressive. Yeah. He got top 32 at this year's Worlds as well. That just happened in Japan, so very solid showing from him. Okay, 6th place. We were all more or less aligned on this, except with a couple spots. You and Aneil, Matt, had this guy at 7th. I had him at 5th. We have the only player to qualify for every single World Championships, and one of the great deck builders in the game. We have Ross Cawthon. So I think there's not a lot that needs to be said about Ross. I think his resume speaks for itself. Like, just making every World Championship, to me, like, that is such an accomplishment. One, just showing your dedication throughout the years and just that you've been able to succeed through like every era of the game, from the EX era to the Diamond and Pearl era to the Primes to the Big E basic EXs, the GXs to even now. he's found a way to make Worlds every year, and making Worlds is not trivial, especially back in the day. Like, there weren't as many invites as there are now. So I just think that's such a huge accomplishment. He's also gone second at Worlds twice. He's gone top 4 at Worlds. And I think he really is one of the great innovators in the game. So recently, he has like that Roaring Moon build that just everyone's playing. He basically took a dead archetype and made it the most popular deck now. But I think when you think of Ross, everyone just associates him with the truth. He has a Vileplume Reuniclus deck. He got second with at the 2011 World Championships. And to me, like, I would say that's the most iconic rogue deck of all time. Like, what do you guys think?
I agree.
Yep.
100% agree. That's because, like, I think Mega Audino is really cool that it won Worlds out of nowhere. Cool stuff. You know, kind of Audino, like, what the heck? But the truth is, like, when you think of Rogue, the truth just comes to my mind instantly. It is, the most iconic rogue deck of all time. One of the coolest decks ever. And, it's just really cool to see Ross still continuing to, change the game now, even, all these years later.
Yeah, 100%. He also got...
Like, using that beach, it was crazy.
Yeah, that's
the
a great
of the
story.
beach,
Yeah, Neil, tell that story,
is.
actually, for people. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was the first year that beach came out as the World's promo. And our buddy, Ross Coffin, said, you know what? I'm going to throw it in my deck. And he played a one-off beach in the truth, and it was actually like really integral to the deck's strategy overall. Like, it wasn't something that just like kind of got, well, I mean, I guess it did kind of get thrown in there, but like he probably went to Worlds with his deck in mind, and he lines up and he picks up his swag bag and he's like, wait, hold up. Let me cook for a second. This card is ridiculous. And suddenly, like, his what it might not have been a perfect deck prior to this was now a perfect deck because of this one-off card. And, like, I actually don't know the story of if he tried to source more copies or, like, what happened with that. Like, did he try to play more than one?
I think it was just one.
Yeah.
I remember listening to him on the Laker Rage podcast, and I remember he did mention that, how, like, he just had the one beach, and he's like, this is probably all I need.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's so good for the setup of that deck. Because he already have, like, the Pichu and stuff, so.
Yeah. He his reports on PokeGym, if anyone wants to go find it, from like 12 or 13 years ago. And I remember in his thread he was saying, like, I had to ask a judge, like, am I even allowed to play this? 'Cause I think nowadays if there's a new promo at Worlds, you're actually not allowed to play it, right? Because you have to wait 3 weeks.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I just think that's like a great story, just showing like literally no testing, just like being able to recognize like that's a perfect card for my strategy.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, like, that is the coolest rogue deck of all time. Like, the strategy is just so unique.
It's so cool.
And yeah, seeing him dominate like that. And even then, like, you see, like, his other big Worlds finishes. He got top 4 with, like, a Vespiquen Eviltal deck in 2016, when that is not a meta deck back then. At the London World Championships, he got top 16 with the Radiant Charizard deck. He was one of the pioneers with that deck. I think Piper won a regionals after with that one, so...
Yeah, Baltimore, I think, right?
Yeah, like, you even look like last year, NAIC, he's getting like 33rd with Darkrai V-Star, which I think everyone agrees is like not a good deck. I'm just looking at his limits, like Zoroark box, like he used to play like Malamar box. Like
Spirit, he made Spiritomb really popular during the COVID era.
Yeah.
I want to talk, like, because like those were like the limitless qualifiers in the Players Cups, which kind of don't count, but I want to say he popularized ADP Tomb.
Yes, 100%.
That was another one of his big creation decks.
Yeah.
And then obviously Roaring Moon, the most recent one.
Yeah, I think
that he's popularized.
Yeah, I think maybe my one criticism of Ross is he might try and innovate too hard. So I think his modern era success is a lot less than it could be, I think. Like, I think his top cut at one of those, it was like San Antonio or something, was his first like modern era top cut.
I think it was Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte. It was his first top cut in like 5 years or something. So I just think, he's just a fantastic player through the eras. I think the only thing holding him back from like truly reaching like those like top 3 spots is just like the volume and the modern era success. And he obviously has some because he's doing well at Worlds still, top cutting, innovating. So that's the only thing I could say against Ross. But no, he's definitely one of the
Unreal
goats.
hair too.
Yeah, unreal hair, unreal shuffling.
Unreal hair. Yeah, like this guy. Hey, you guys want an idol? This guy's got to put together. Go look at Ross.
Yeah.
This guy's got to put together. And I think you can still watch the World Finals.
It is. Yeah,
you can. I think it was the first ever streamed Worlds for Pokemon.
I think so.
Or something.
Yeah. Fun fact: my very first Pokemon match I've ever watched, and like what got me excited to want to play tournaments, was I watched the finals between Ross and David Cohen back then. Back when little Ciaran was learning how to play. So
yeah. That was what, Magnabor versus the Truth or something?
Yeah, like that was the only bad matchup for Ross's deck in Top Cut. The reason being is, for people who don't know, is the deck he played against had like an unlimited damage potential, so it could one shot. And Ross's whole deck was like a tank stall deck. So Ross almost won as well at the time, but just wasn't able to pull it out. Cool. All right, now we're getting to the top 5 here. So I think some very heavy hitters. I think all of us more or less had the same 5 guys here. Except Matt, you had this next guy just outside your top 5. But in 5th place, we have Igor Costa. And when I think of like peaks in the game, like I think he has debatably the highest peak, maybe besides like Tord. So yeah, Igor's a world champion. So he went world champion 2 years later, 2nd place at Worlds, a year later, top 4 at Worlds. So I don't think there's ever been that good of a 4-year run at the World Championships. At least not that I can think of. He also has another top 32 at Worlds. He's a top 4 in internationals. He has 3 regionals he's won. He has 6 more top 8s, 2 top 4s, and a 2nd, all in the modern era. So
it's a crazy resume.
It's just crazy, yeah.
That's
so
insane.
I think, yeah, just like pure peak, and he doesn't even play anymore.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah, and he was part of that.
And y'all
DG
should be thankful
crew,
he doesn't play anymore.
Yeah.
We would be in trouble.
So, yeah, Matt, maybe I'll go to you. Like, why do you think Igor is held in such high esteem, even though he doesn't play Pokemon anymore?
Yeah, I mean, with that type of resume, that's kind of insane. Like, it's weird because like he's kind of the underdog of like the GOATs. I feel like because his name doesn't get brought up as much in the GOAT debate. It's always the typical like 4 big players, but he's like always just outside. I did have him at number 6, but below Shintaro. Honestly, could probably bump him up to number 5, swap with Shintaro. But the thing is, he doesn't play anymore, so his accomplishments end. At a certain point, you just can't. Like, it's like Jimmy Pendarvis, right? Like, he had such a huge peak in the game, arguably one of the best, but just he hasn't been playing since, so his accomplishments haven't been able to, like, stack up. But that is such an insane peak for sure.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Aneil, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's sick. And on my list, I put banned diff in brackets. So he did get banned at one point. So, I mean, like, I don't know if that really, like, tainted his legacy, maybe a little bit, but yeah, like for me, he was always going to be F5. Like the top 4 to me are pretty untouchable. So
yeah,
but he was a fantastic player in his time, other than a random N and getting banned. So
yeah, I mean, I will say he didn't get banned for like stacking or palming or anything. He got banned for alleged collusion, for scooping. For anyone listening, I think there's some of the other players on this list have had some incidents as well that we can talk about if we want or not. But I think the skill speaks for itself. I think he's very well deserved 5th on our list. Okay, so now I think we're going to the heavy hitters. I think all of us had this guy at 4th. We have probably out of everyone on this list, the person who's bridged the gap between eras the best. We have Michael Pramwatt. So his Worlds resume is impressive. He has 3 top 8s, a 2nd, a top 4, and top 8. He got top 4 at the most recent World Championships. He has a very famous 2nd place at the 2010 World Championships, where his opponent like top decked like a 1-outer to win. He's won in internationals. He's got like 5 more top 32s at them. He's a 7-time regional champion. He has 2 more 2nds and 2 more top 4s just in the modern era. So, and I'm sure he has tons of like states and regionals like before the modern era. So, I think. Maybe, Matt, I'll start with you. Like, why do you think Pram is so respected in the game and ranked so highly by, I think, everybody?
Yeah, I just think it's, like, all the wins he has. Like, he's the most winning regional champion, right? Don't think there's been a regional... I don't think anyone's won that many regionals, right?
Yeah, I think he has the record.
Azul's at 6.
Azul's at 6.
Yeah, he's at 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's about to tie him. But, yeah, Pram has been really consistent. I think before the top 4 Worlds, we haven't seen Pram have that, like, huge moment pre-COVID or post-COVID. But, obviously, now the top 4 World, like, I think that immediately just cements his legacy of, like, immediate top 5 player of all time.
Yeah. Aneil, what about you? Why do you have him so high?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, that's what you said hit it right on the head. Like, bridging the gap's not easy. I think, especially with him, like, he was around before we were around even, right? Like, he's a true, you want to talk OGs. Like, I guess all of these players now that we're kind of getting into now are more or less OGs, but he's been around, bro. And, like, he was part of, like, Puka's crew back then. He was
about to say, he was part of Top Cut.
Yeah, he's doing real well, and still to this day, he's doing real well. So, I mean, you know what, man? Like, sometimes it's like with old soccer players who go to play, like, Sunday League. Like, class is forever. Like, you have a touch once, you can be 55. If you had a touch when you were 20, you're going to make it to the show, you'll still be pretty good. So, he showed that you put the work in, you still have the skill set, you can win whatever the hell you want. So, that's why he's up there for me.
It's kind of funny because I remember during the Lugia era, I think it was, Pram like hated the game. He hated it. He's like, this format is trash. I remember I was sitting near him in day 2 at Orlando, and he was like complaining to his opponent how bad the format is or whatever. But it's still crazy to see him be this consistent and strong. I actually had the pleasure of playing against Pram in Knoxville, Goldango versus Tina, and I ended up winning, which is kind of cool. Actually, I've played against 2 players on this list, Estrada and Pram, so I find that kind of cool. But yeah, Pram, one of the GOATs. We'll have to see where his like future goes with more placements, because I could definitely see him like going maybe higher on this list over time, depending on if he keeps up the consistency. And if he wins an 8th regional, that would be crazy.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, the top 3 is pretty hard to crack, I think. I think there's like a huge gap. Even the gap between 3rd and like 2nd and 1st is really big too, in my opinion. So,
and this is going to surprise a lot of people. Like a lot of people who are like not like new to the game, but sort of like the COVID babies of the game are going to be very surprised with where this next person is on the list.
No, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone's this might be the controversial one apart from the GOAT debate.
I don't think it's controversial.
I don't think it's controversial.
Like, to us, it's not. But I think
it depends
overall within the community.
Yeah.
With new players, it might be.
No, I don't think this is controversial
new
at all.
players, okay.
I think this next guy is just the consensus 3. Like I think he's like locked in at 3. Like there's a huge gap between him and Pram. I think there's a sizable gap between him and the next 2 guys. So, yeah, next we all had Azul at 3. I don't think there's much we need to say about Azul. Like I think everyone knows he's probably the most popular person besides Tord in the community. He's a 6-time regional champion. He's made top 4 or 8 or whatever, like 22 times as well. I think the most regional top cuts in history. He's a 2-time international champion. He's got a 2nd in top 8 as well. The only thing that was holding him back was he didn't really have much world success until this past year when he got top 4 with Mew VMAX. So I think, yeah, to me, like the only thing that's holding Azul back from like reaching these top 2 spots is he just needs those world finishes that I think like other guys ahead of him, who we will discuss, have. But what is there really to say, Aneil? What do you think about Azul?
Like his run's been so well telegraphed, just with like the digital age of media and stuff, and like how much people really like pay attention in the Pokeverse now. I think like back when like Jason and Igor were playing, there was a lot less attention in general.
I think that's
like, just
a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, just on like the top players, and like the other thing that helps is, like you said, he's one of the most popular guys in the circle. So, got a big YouTube following. He plays like jank decks sometimes, and still plays them excellently. I think that says a lot of. I mean, that's LDF's craft too. It's a show of both of them, but yeah, I think Azul's excellent. I think he's probably stuck at 3 in my opinion, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
It'll be tough because if he wins Worlds, I still think he would be at number 3 because it's really hard to crack the top 2, I think. But if he can win like multiple Worlds, maybe if he can win LAIC, he can be a 3-time IC champion. There is a debate to put him there. I would argue Azul is probably the best player post-COVID. With the amount of top 8 finishes he's had, 2 international wins. He won the 2nd international we ever had post-COVID, NEIC. He won OCIC. Yeah, like I think him and Tord are probably like tied for like the best player post-COVID. Yeah. But I would argue Azul might be the best player post-COVID. And even during COVID, I mean, he won the Players' Cup, which, like, again, like, it doesn't count, but I still kind of look at that as an accomplishment because that was still kind of like Pokemon's way of doing like a kind of a regional type thing. So I don't know. I think Azul definitely has like definitely a huge resume and arguably is the best player post-COVID, maybe, if like you don't want to count Tord as that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Are you guys ready to move on to probably the most heated section?
I'm so ready. I've been
here we go, baby.
So, I mean, when I was consulting people about my list, I think this was obviously the thing that has the most argument. So I think for anyone living under a rock, the 2 best players of all time are definitely Tord Reklev and Jason Kludzinski. For the people who are maybe a little bit newer, who don't know Jason Kludzinski, he's a 3-time world champion. No one else has even won it twice. He's also a national champion. He's a 2-time regional champion. He's won this thing called the Tropical Mega Battle, which was like a tournament they had back in the day. He won the Fan Appreciation Tournament when Wizards of the Coast was going to cancel Pokemon. He has tons of top cuts at these things called the Super Trainer Showdown, which were regionals back in the day. So in Jason's era, he won every single type of tournament that existed.
That's actually crazy.
So I think might be the only person to have that accomplishment, like back up until then. And the thing that makes this debate so hard that we're going to have is he stopped playing after like 2015 or 16. So it's really hard to compare.
He hasn't played in the modern era.
Yeah. And then for Tord, I mean, like, it's not even debatable that he's the modern era GOAT. Like, 4 international wins. He's won each of the 4 internationals, which just seems unthinkable. It's so hard to win an international, to have him do that. And he's also has, I think, multiple
5 internationals.
Yeah, like he has, I have it pulled up here. He has 2 more second places, a top 4, and a top 8. So, like, he's just, like, his top cut rate in internationals must be close to 50%, which is just insane. He's also a 3-time regional champion. He is second at the World Championships, top 4 at the World Championships. So he's just seen success at every level of the game. I think he's also won the Norway National Championships, but I think those were like
I think so too.
25, 30 people. But hey, we'll throw it on the resume. So
yeah, why not?
2 guys who I think very clearly stand above the rest. So just to show the ranking, and I think this is going to show the old headness in some of us, I think Aneil and I put Jason first and Matt put Tord first. And
I did put Tord at first.
So I don't think there's like a wrong answer. So Matt, let's start with you. What's your argument for Tord over Jason? And then Aneil and I will give you the rebuttal.
So I think Tord is the best player of all time because, yes, he's won all 4 internationals. He was this close to winning Worlds. If it wasn't for the stupid time, he would have won Worlds. Like, that's got to be scripted that Tord didn't win Worlds. I was mind blown at that, the fact he didn't win Worlds, because that obviously, like, Pokemon were rubbing their hands like, yo, let's go. He's going to win Worlds. But, yeah, no. But, yeah, Tord also is one of the most, like, successful players in the game. He's got so many top 8s. So many top 32s. Another trait about Tord is how he innovates arguably more than any other player in the game. I mean, he basically revolutionized Lugia. Everyone was playing Lugia like so weird before Tord's like build one LEIC, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's probably how Lugia should be played. Like 4 capture energy, the energy, like everything Tord did with Lugia at LEIC basically set the standard for how Lugia needs to be played going forward. He did the same with Zoroark. He's like the iconic Zoroark king. Obviously, he innovated a lot with Rapid Strike Urshifu, which was another big one that he revolutionized. He's even like revolutionizing Gardevoir. Like he put Mirage Step back on the map when everybody was like, that card sucks. And just recently, he's been playing these like random meme stuff and almost winning tournaments with them. Like, you know, obviously last week at Utrecht, he played this like crazy Charizard Urshifu 35-1 of deck and almost won the entire tournament with it. No one else could do that but Tord. And then obviously those like weird Lost Box piles with Palkia, Hands, Moon and stuff, Kyogre. Like Tord is like arguably the best deck builder in the game. And I think that it just shows with how consistent his finishes are. And he also, I just think, thinks differently than any player in the game. Like I think I just think he just thinks so much differently than any other player, honestly. Like the way he thinks and plays, I would love to just get in his mind and see how he does stuff. Cause like he's different.
Yeah, it feels
like I literally think he's different.
It feels like he's mastered his craft. Like it really does feel like he was like put on Earth to master the Pokemon trading card game.
He's literally like red.
Yeah. So,
on top of Mount Silver.
I mean,
in my opinion.
Oh, at first I thought you meant like physically he was like red. So I was like,
no.
Like, damn, bro, poor guy with the tomato. You're calling him out on live. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty hard to like refute that argument there. I'll let Aneil go after me, and I think my argument basically is just, to me, when I think of like the greatest in any other field, like I just think you need to reach that like ultimate mountain. Like I just think you need to have like that world championship to be the GOAT. Like to me, like if Tord wins Worlds, like I will instantly put him as the GOAT. And just the fact that Jason has 3 is like insane to me. And I know I sound like a rings like analyst guy right now, being like championships, but to me, just to be the GOAT, I feel like you need to have that. And I just think like Worlds is like everyone's dream. Like everyone wants to win Worlds. Like that's why I play Pokemon. I think that's why tons of people play Pokemon. And just being the person to win that 3 times is just so impressive to me. And I just think it's also like Jason's no slouch. Like for his time, like he was dominating tournaments as well.
Yeah.
I really wish Jason played in the modern era because I'm really curious how he would do. Because
same.
I think one thing that is interesting to also note is back when Jason played Pokemon, like it wasn't a viable career. Like guys like Tord and Azul, like they dedicate their life to Pokemon. They practice all day, stream, deck build. Like Jason didn't really have that luxury. So I think maybe if that career path opened to Jason and he could really pursue Pokemon full time, I think we would also see like a mastery from him of the game that he already obviously had, but just taking that to another level. So I don't feel super strongly one way or the other. I just think having the Worlds titles puts him above. And I do think Tord had the opportunity to win the Worlds in Japan. Like I do think he mismanaged the clock in that finals game, which is rare to see because Tord, one of his things is he's probably a master of the clock. So it was very ironic that was how that Worlds title got kept
That's
away
why,
from
bro,
him,
it was
so.
scripted. I swear it was scripted. Tord not winning Worlds in Japan because of the time, it's so scripted. Actually insane.
Yeah.
LDF conspiracy theory. Start the Reddit post, somebody.
Right.
I'll say this. Okay, I'll say this. Ciaran and I have agreed on this for a long time. I think we've kind of come from the background of like Jason was the guy we grew up with. Maybe there's a little bit of bias to that. But what I'll say is this: I think tournaments now are obviously very hard to win. We know they're huge. There's a lot of things, but I think tournaments back then were just as hard to win because the game was harder. So
The game was
I put stock in both. I put stock in both. I think as much as like Tord is winning these 2,000 person tournaments, Jason is winning these tournaments where, like Ciaran said, like top 32 was single elim. Like you had these like complicated decks that really took a lot of brain power. And I'm not saying Tord doesn't play complicated decks. He does. He always plays like the best deck, and whatever the hell he just played was, I would say, pretty complicated. And I did tweet out earlier. I said like, I don't know, man. Like I might have to readjust my list after seeing what he did this weekend with that pile, because like that, and is the conversation we can have in a bit, but that to me is a testament to who he is as a player. I think if you're able to take that and you're able to top four that, and top fouring your regionals is a lot of people's dream. Like a lot of people have, like 99% of people have never touched that in Pokemon.
Yeah, most people haven't even made day 2 at regional.
Like a team deck.
Yeah,
he did it with a team deck basically. So like that's a testament to me and how good he is. That being said, Jason won Worlds 3 times. He's the only reason people today don't talk about him is because he doesn't play the game anymore. And like what Ciaran said, like he couldn't put in as much time as these people do now. Like he needed to have a job to sustain himself, to travel, to do things. Whereas now this can be your job. So I think all things considered, I think Jason's my GOAT. I think if he was still around, it's not even a conversation, in my opinion. But that being said, since he doesn't play anymore, since Tord's been on such a crazy run, I also don't think there's a bad answer. I think both answers are applicable. I think there's pros and cons to both. But Jason won Worlds 3 times, and Tord hasn't yet. So I think that's my bottom line.
I do think part of that discussion too is Jason was around when like the game wasn't as commercialized as it is now, where Tord is, he's all over YouTube and Twitch with all the streams and stuff. Social media is kind of blown up, like being on Twitter. He has Tord's got the most followers on Twitter for any TCG player. So he's obviously the most famous player in the game. He's one of the most popular. If Tord had a YouTube channel like Azul did, I actually think he'd probably be the biggest channel. I think he would be bigger than Mahone if he actually consistently uploaded. But I do think that Tord definitely kind of has a bit more light on him due to how much more commercialized and how many more eyes are on the game now. Like, you being a good player is going to be more commonly known than it would have been back then, where like the game wasn't as popular on YouTube and stuff and on Twitch and Twitter, and just the eyes were not on you as often, which is maybe why a lot of people may not even know who Jason is. But Jason actually still does retro stuff. I think he runs like retro tournaments and stuff. I'm pretty sure he's actually played Tord multiple times. I don't know if you can look back at like Tord's TCG Park streams. I'm pretty sure he streamed on TCG1 versus Jason. I don't know if those are archived or not on his Twitch, but if you can find those, you really want to see Tord versus Jason retro style. There you go.
Yeah. So actually, Jason held an in-person RSPK Ruby Sapphire Power Tournament, and Tord did beat Jason in that tournament. So you could say
he did win that.
There's an argument for that.
Yeah,
it actually reminds me a lot of like comparing someone like LeBron and Jordan, where it's like LeBron's like volume stats, it's like it's not even close, and it's like the eye test, like you're like, hey, how can someone be better than this? And it's like Jordan's things like, all right, he just has 6 rings, like. So I just think it's like there's no wrong answer to me.
Well, the one thing I'd say as well, in like defense of Tord in this case, is that the average player now, I think, is a lot better than the average player before, just because of ease of access to like resources and stuff. So like before, there was such like a huge, and like new players don't know this, there's such a huge barrier to like obtaining like not only lists but information and like what people are going to play. Whereas now it's so publicized. Like a new player, like I have buddies who just picked up the game. They're playing like ideal 60s within like their first week of playing, and like that makes a huge difference. So in Tord's defense, he's probably had to beat a lot more bad players, and it's been a lot harder for him than it was for Jason.
Yeah.
And like that's the same thing with the LeBron Jordan debate, where you're like, oh, Jordan was playing against like dentists, which is not true, but that's the conversation that is had a lot of the time. So I think, Ciaran, you're right. It's very similar.
Yeah, I think
it is interesting.
I was just saying, I think Worlds is the same level of difficulty, like back then and today. But I just think like regionals, nationals, like states, like it's way harder today, just because of like the sheer volume of players, and like you're saying, the average. For sure.
You could make the argument though that back then, because the tournaments were smaller, you had a higher odds of hitting a good player throughout each round, instead of nowadays where you can get paired against newer players in like the first 4 rounds, and obviously you can, as long as you know what you're doing, you can obviously win those pretty easily. But like back then, there's a good chance you would get paired against like some of the best players in the game in like the first 3 rounds, and it would just keep going up from there. So you could argue it was harder back then than it is now too, because of that reason. And also, lists weren't as public. Nowadays, like it's not hard to to metagame for a tournament. Like, you can literally go on Limitless, look up a deck list, and be like, okay, Charizard now plays a switch. All right, I'm cutting Coco from my deck. Back then, let's say Azul won San Antonio with Charizard. Everyone would have been like, okay, we're playing Coco, and then obviously, top eights with the switch, and it's like, okay, that's the thing, but not many people might have known that because Limitless didn't exist back then, so it's harder to find the list, and it was all behind a paywall.
Because I was gonna say, if you paid the $20 paywall to find out his list,
exactly.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think the margin for error was also a lot less. Like when Jason was playing, like smaller tournaments, you have like 8-round tournaments, you lose one round, you're probably bumped, or like I guess a couple rounds. One round's a bit of an over exaggeration, but you get my idea.
Yeah, it was the other thing I would say just on that point, like deck building was a much bigger skill back then because there is no Limitless. The people who were the best deck builders were consistently doing well. And you could keep your deck list a secret back then, so you could just dominate tournaments.
Yeah. It was a lot more common back then to keep your deck a secret.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless your boys leaked it.
So I guess if we can kind of compare Tord and Jason's innovation decks, so like Tord, obviously innovator of Zoroark GX, put that deck on the map. Lugia, Gardevoir. Jason, he's no slouch either. He has a lot of big decks that obviously he innovated and pioneered, so I guess kind of name those off.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Jason wasn't really like an innovator in terms of like rogue decks. He would master like a deck. All three of his Worlds wins, they were all with like meta decks. Darkrai was the best deck that format. Gardevoir Glade was the best deck that year he won Worlds. Manectric Mew was like a tier 2 deck the year he won Worlds. That one he did innovate a bit. His build was very different than traditional ones. And it's actually kind of funny. Like I've read Jason's blog and he literally would change like 7 or 8 cards of his Worlds winning list. He's like, oh, this wasn't optimal back then, but
that's great.
Yeah, Jason was just always good at playing like good decks and just playing them extremely well. And like Tord, Jason was also a master of the clock. I think his national win is probably the most egregious
the Whale Lord Seismitoad match, right?
Yeah, that match that wouldn't fly today. The way the clock was being used back then, but it's one of those things where it's like a gray area, especially back then. But yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Like, and we could debate this conversation for hours. Like, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. These are both like fantastic players. So,
yeah,
hats off to them. I doubt either of them are listening to this, but we respect you.
Yeah, exactly. And like
you never know. You never know.
Like Aneil said, if you're upset you're not on this list, your ranking's too low. Give us your case.
Put Tord in the thumbnail. Put Tord and Jason in the thumbnail, and there's a good chance Tord might click on it. You never know.
Maybe, yeah.
Bro, I was gonna put you in the thumbnail.
LDF top 10 all time.
Click rate.
yeah.
LDF top 10 all time. LDF top 3 YouTubers all time.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's not even a debate.
That's
next video.
YouTuber list. You want to break some hearts? Let's go.
All right.
The biggest TCG YouTubers of all time, PTCG gameplay YouTube channels of all time.
Yeah. Well, we're saying best, not biggest.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, best. We're putting Shift Gear like 40th.
My go to Puka, Yellow Swallow, LDF. Boom, there you go.
Okay, go. That's a good list.
Clears, bro. It clears.
Yeah. I'd probably have J-Wits in my top 3.
Yeah. I could put him in. I'd probably put him top 5.
Yeah. So, nice. All right.
I have the official Pokemon YouTube channel.
Of course. How can you not have the official Pokemon YouTube channel, man?
Bunch of goats.
Yo, Balthazar's Pokemon. That guy's goated too.
It's a lot of OGs, man.
Yeah.
Lapidor's Pokemon. That's crazy.
The guy who just uploads all the like VODs from the stream. Shout out him, or might be her. I don't know if they are a guy or girl. But all right, just to finish off here, how about some names you guys think that if we revisit this list in 10 years, you could see them being on this list? So Aneil, you had one person on your list where I'm like, they would be my answer to this question, but I'm like, this is crazy. You put them in the top 15 already. So Aneil, make your case for this guy.
Let me make my case for my boy Rowan Stavna.
Yeah.
He's since we're talking like Stephen A and Shannon Sharp and those guys, I'm gonna put a phrase like this, all right? Young prospect, shown like a lot of promise in the minor leagues when he won Worlds. Okay, that's a big title, a lot of promise. He's a jacked guy as well, which plays into his profile.
The Johnny Sins look,
but he hits the gym. The gym, let me tell you. But overall, fantastic Pokemon player. I lost track of all his accolades. I don't even remember, but he's a fantastic player. He's young, as Ciaran likes to say, and a lot of potential through the grapevine here for Rowan Stavna. If he keeps at it, he's going to be a world champion again soon.
Yeah, it's like if they did those things where they're like, yo, if you could like draft anybody to start your team with today, who would you pick? Like he'd be in the top 10 picks for sure. Like he's just had such a great run post-COVID, and just he passes the eye test so well. In Canada, like I'd say he's probably like just from when I play against people, like I think he's definitely the best player that we have like in the modern day.
I agree. Yeah, I would say Rowan's probably the second best Canadian player for sure, and I think for sure he's like the one to put stock in going forward. He just won Hartford. He's a world champion in the seniors division. He's top eighted multiple tournaments too. Like he didn't just win Hartford out of nowhere. Like he has done top eights before. He's been pretty consistent with like top 32s and whatnot. I think most recently he got top 8 at the Melbourne Regionals. I think it was in Australia. Dortmund?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was Dortmund. Yeah. It was one of the two. But yeah. So definitely Rowan, I would say in 10 years, probably. He could honestly surpass Estrada, depending on how he can do at the next year's Worlds and stuff.
Yeah.
For me, a young prospect I had was Andrew Hedrick. He was someone that I thought of. The first person I thought of post-COVID players who have made a name for themselves was Andrew Hedrick. He is very consistent. Won back-to-back regionals. That's like, that was something that like was very rare. He's like very consistent. Like he's gotten multiple top 8s. He won 3 regionals technically. He did win the SPE in Brazil, I think, like last year or something. So like he's clearly like one of the best like players, arguably the best player post-COVID in this new era of like players. So I definitely think Andrew Hedrick's another one that you could put stock in for the future. We just got to see him have a good Worlds performance.
It's actually kind of jokes because like we're joking around about like choosing like young phenoms for this, but it's actually real because like you have to factor in like marriage diff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like we're talking 10-year outlook here. How do I know that like if I pick a guy who's like 25, like our age, how do I know that guy's not married in 10 years and his wife's saying, hey, you can't play the game anymore? So I'm gonna put my stock in the young players. Okay, like I think like 20 is the prime age right now. You get 10 years. You won't get held down. You leave university. You get more time to play the game, so you can have like that resurgence at 22, and then you're laughing. Your stock's looking great.
Well, I mean,
That's true.
I do see a good trend. It seems like most people who have partners in Pokemon, their partners are pretty supportive of Pokemon. So I think people would prioritize Pokemon in their life when they're picking their partners. So, yeah,
that's fair.
Another name I think to look out for is definitely Reagan Retzloff. I think he had an insane rookie season. Just the thing with most of these younger players is they haven't had a lot of cracks at Worlds yet. So like Rowan is still someone who we need to see have some World success, and obviously like Reagan and Hedrick haven't played Worlds that much in Masters. So he's just another guy who's just like he won a regionals his first year, second internationals, like multiple top cuts, like and he's only like 17 or something, or 18 maybe. I think he's 17.
Yeah.
So that's just another like guy like he's like married to the game. Like he loves to play. They did the documentary. He was one of the main characters that kind of showed the behind the scenes of him cooking. So I think he's definitely a phenom in the American region.
Yeah, it's crazy in my opinion. I think he kind of replaced Bradner as like the de facto player of that like Rahul group, because Bradner had an insane 2022, and then Reagan just kind of like had an insane 2023 and kind of like overtook that. We'll have to see what happens if Bradner can keep up the pace still, though.
Yeah, 100%.
One other little honorable mention I want to throw in there too is the Szymanski brothers, both of them.
Yeah, he was in. I think he was on Matt's list, and like I had him like just off my 15th.
Yeah. Unreal players, insane. Like unreal players, both of them. And like some people, I guess the newer players don't really know Chris as a player, but he was also unreal.
Yeah.
And,
Chris is like the head judge of the tournaments now. He does all the announcements, like players you can begin your round 4 or whatever. That's him.
And he's good at it. Yeah. His voice is angelic, dude. Like players, you may begin. Like I hear it in my dreams sometimes.
Yeah, I think the great thing about Chris is I've always said to be an elite judge, you need to be an elite player, because you need to be able to like go to a game and see like the board state, who's gonna win, like what doesn't make sense for a person to like slow play in this spot, things like that to like really understand intent. I just think Chris has brought that like high level play to like judging. I think he's definitely helped like the judges get better. And just seeing him rise to like such a high position in the judging ranks so fast is just like a testament to how great he is at what he does.
I agree.
So.
Yeah, and Alex, I think like he's had a pretty good post-COVID season. He was, I think, the one player who a lot of people would say he was missing that one big finish, and he won a UIC finally, actually beating Tord, almost giving Tord like the 5th IC win, which is crazy. But yeah, Alex definitely is the one player who was missing that huge finish, and now that he has it, I was like, all right, immediate honorable mentions, because I think then after EUIC, he got top 8 at the next regionals with that Kyogre Moltres deck.
Yep.
So I think that he definitely is like one of the best players right now in the game.
Yeah, he has.
The way this is going, it's like we're gonna be making like Pokemon player cards. Like they sell like hockey cards and basketball cards. Like I'm getting like my 1/1 signed Kieran Farah LEIC top 4 auto, getting graded at PSA. Like there would be a market for this stuff. I'm just saying.
Well, I did see, I think it was Tord, someone tweeted that he got his like Worlds card PSA graded, and it says like Tord Reklev like first. I'm curious if I signed my cards if they would like do it or not. Probably not, but I think it'd be cool if I got
That would be
like
kinda
my
sick. That'd be
LAIC
kinda
or
sick.
like
You've
my
like
World's
top
top.
32 beaches, right? You said
Yeah, I've gotten top 32 at Worlds 3 times. So I have the
Yeah.
Champions Festivals, and then I have this year it was Paradise Resort. I have my favorites, the
Oh,
top
yes.
8 Outra Bola from Brazil.
Ultra Bola.
And then this year we don't
We'll
know
see
what the
if you ever
promo
get
is.
your other
Yeah,
one.
I don't know if I'll get my promo.
Yeah.
I got paid luckily for this year, so that was huge.
So did I, thankfully.
Yeah, so that was
Still waiting
good.
on my top 13 Ultra Bola. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
So yeah, there's like tons of guys I think in that like Shemansky kind of range. Like I think we mentioned Ian Robb earlier. I think Grant Manley's another
Yeah.
name. He's
Grant
another guy
Manley,
who's
yeah.
like
I was
just due for a
thinking-
win.
Yeah, he's on the cusp.
He needs some world success. His teammate Caleb Gedimer has a lot of success. He's just missing that world success as well. There's lots.
He got back-to-back finals last season
Yeah,
with Kyogre. So
yeah. That
He was
group,
close.
Yeah, that group was like tearing through tournaments with Kyogre.
yeah.
Yeah, another person.
One name we didn't mention as well is Stefan Ivanov.
Oh, he was on my. I think he was on my top 15. So yeah,
I was gonna put him
we
in the honorable
mentioned-
mentions too,
yeah.
but I ran out of space.
yeah, that's actually a good
'Cause
shout. Neil. Yeah.
Two-time IC winner, and he won NEIC twice, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
the biggest
back-to-back
IC.
NEICs.
So
I feel like the wheels might have fell off a little bit for him, but
he
was,
hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't had like a humongous. I think he got second at a European Regionals in 2022 with Gudra, I think, something like that,
Okay.
if I remember
yes,
correctly.
something like that. I'm looking into. He's won French nationals. If we care about that, that's an
Yeah.
achievement.
Hey, if we respect Canadian nationals, we have to respect
Yeah, exactly.
French nationals. That's just the rule.
Yeah, he also has top 16 at NEIC. He has top 16 at EUIC. He has. Oh, he also has a second at OCIC. Okay, yeah, we definitely goofed by not putting him higher.
He
100%.
definitely. Yeah, you could
Big
put
goof.
the debate. Like he could maybe be in like the 10-ish, 9th range for sure.
Yeah, I
Does
think.
he have a Worlds finish?
No, I
though?
think the reason I didn't have him high on my list is he just doesn't have any worlds finish, like not even a top 32. So he has 2 regional wins too. Like I think just when I made this list, I was just like, all right, like worlds is just like so heavily weighted, but he's obviously like a fantastic player. Like to get 3 finals and 2 wins in ICs, like the debate
Yeah.
besides worlds, the hardest tournaments, like that's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm
Some
going to
other.
text Estrada, tell him I'm giving him the boot from 10. Sorry, bud. Cross him
Some
out
other,
right
some
now.
other, yeah, some other players I did want to mention. I guess there's like a fireball round, lightning round, whatever. So I wanted to mention Aiden Koos, another player who is like doing really good. He's got a few IC top 8s, almost won 2 regionals this season. Recently, obviously got second at Knoxville. Did win a regional. Piper Lapine, another one who I think she is like one of the best like pre-COVID players. Won 2 regionals. You know, has a lot of good placements. Has she had a world finish yet? I feel like she has.
I don't think
Trying
so
to think on
yet.
that.
She might have like a top 32 or something. Let me look.
That's what I was thinking.
She was
I
also
feel like
a,
she does have
a
one.
senior before COVID, I think, so she hasn't had a lot of cracks
Yeah.
at it in Masters. So
Bonus
Yeah.
points for being a Banana Games local.
yeah, that's right.
TBH.
No, she doesn't have
True
any
that.
world
True that.
finishes yet.
She's a local Canadian now.
Yeah, the trend
Yeah.
the trend seems to
Bonus
be
points.
for all these like young guns, like they don't have none of them really have a world's finish yet, and it makes sense. They've all only played it like 2 or 3 times. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Another-
they're all
another
COVID
player I
games,
really wanted to
right?
quickly
They didn't even
mention.
have worlds.
All right, who do you
No,
want?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
for
another
it.
player I wanted to mention real quick. Yeah, I wanted to mention Grant Hayes. He has actually had a lot of consistent finishes recently, and he's really impressive right now. So I want to put stock in Grant Hayes too.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's tons
He's
of players.
due for a big win.
Yeah, there's tons of players from the other regions we just don't know as well that I'm sure have potential.
Yeah.
We're just forgetting. Like maybe like Brent Tonnison's another name who's been doing fantastic lately. He was even someone I considered in the
yeah.
original list.
That's
I
a
was
huge
thinking of
one.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's missing some wins, I think, at the big tournaments, but he's a name I could for sure see like cracking this like eventually. So yeah, tons of great players. So I think this was honestly a really fun episode. Hopefully we can spark some debates in the comment. Like post your
Hopefully.
list, post your top 10 lists in the comments. I'm curious.
Yeah.
what
Is there
other
any
people,
players we missed?
Yeah, tell us who you think our biggest snub was, who we overrated the most. Give us all your sports style hot takes in the comments. I'd love to read them.
We'll send you McDonald's coupons if you put us in the top 10.
Yeah.
They just sent me some. I have like 6 McNuggets for like
Nice.
$3 or something. It's pretty worthwhile stuff. I won't even lie.
Well, Shamrock Shake's back, right? Yeah. Everyone wants that.
Hey, McRib, Shamrock Shake, we're cooking right now.
Yeah.
At
Actually
Dawn's,
cooking.
eh?
Actually
We're
cooking.
all right. Doing all right.
Yeah, and I do like this idea of like just sitting down and talking about like best of all time, whether it be players, cards, decks, whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really cool idea, and I'm glad y'all invited me on because I had a lot of fun talking about this. There's even more players I'm already thinking of that. Like I wish I maybe mentioned this person, but
Yeah.
too many.
That's the thing. There's too many. When I sat down, I made like a Google Doc with like I have like 50 people on it. I put all their achievements. I'm like, how do I even pick? Like I had an easy time with like
Yeah.
maybe like the top 5, and after that, I was like, I don't even know how I pick who comes next.
It gets hard, yeah.
Yeah. So
I was gonna troll, bro. I was gonna put like Blake Martinez on there. Do you guys know who Blake Martinez is?
no.
No.
He's the NFL player who dropped out to sell Pokemon cards on
Oh,
Whatnot.
I do know
he
who
like
that is, yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, he terminated his own contract to go sell Pokemon cards on Whatnot. I was gonna troll the hell out of this list and just put like random garbage on there, but I decided to be serious for once.
Yeah, so yeah, hopefully, I think we all put the respect that this discussion deserved into it, and we all did our homework. But I think honestly, if I made this list like a week or two later, like I might have like changed my mind again. So it's an imperfect science, but hopefully everyone enjoyed seeing us rank this list. So Matt, thank you as always for joining us. You're always welcome on the Shift Gear podcast. You can plug yourself if you want. I think everyone knows who you are, so just plug whatever you want here at the end.
Yeah. The YouTube and Twitter, LittleDarkFury. You can also check out my Twitch, LittleDarkFury. My second channel, LDFPTCG, with Temporal Forces coming out. And actually, this Friday, there should be a really cool video on the channel, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that.
Nice.
Say word. This guy's skipping tournaments to make videos, y'all. So y'all better go watch.
Literally, yeah. Friday's gonna be lit, bro. Friday's gonna be lit.
Yeah,
we challenge Fearless at Yoma.
His dedication to YouTube is like, his dedication to YouTube is off the charts. He's skipping pre-release, he's going to pre-release to make content for you guys. So if that's not dedication, I don't know what is.
And the grind doesn't stop.
Yeah. So for me and Aneil, you can find us as always in the description, our socials. If you want to sign up for our Medify, we'll put that in the link as well, or in the description as well. It should be a lot of fun. Have a group session, come ask us questions, come hang out, so that'll be great. But other than
it's gonna be different. We'll say that.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like we're trying to be a little bit different from all the other group sessions going on. So, hey, I mean, it's like a quarter of the price of our normal rate. So come through, sit in, ask some questions, chill out. It's gonna be fun. You don't have to listen to us rant the whole time. You can actually ask us stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, you can basically have like an IRL Shift Gear episode where you can kind of determine what we talk about. So
yeah, hey, that's dangerous. Yo, that's dangerous.
All right, great. So Aneil, you want to sign us off then?
Yes, sir. Thank you everybody for coming. LDF, thank you for bringing you and your cajillion million subscribers with you.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome episode, ton of fun. We might go over like top 30 like fast food chains next time or something if this pops up. So we'll see where it goes. Tap some McRibs. Happy Whopper Wednesday. Peace out, y'all.
Later.